Brooke from Brooke Seminars Bodywork Education, and I'm here today to share with you a really interesting moment that we had in a recent scar tissue release class that I had. On a break, one of the students came up to ask me questions about one of her clients who had a thoracotomy scar. And while she was speaking to me, at first I was having a little bit of a problem understanding her, and I thought maybe it was because of her accent. She was German. And then I realized, no, it was partly because she was speaking low, and then the other reason was that she really was not enunciating. She wasn't opening her jaw. Her jaw was very, very, very tight. So after we discussed her question, I turned around and said to her, I said, so, what's going on with your jaw? And she's like, nothing, this is the way my jaw always is. I said, you do realize that you don't actually use your jaw, that it seems to be very, very, very tight. She goes, yes, I know, it bothers me every now and then, but it's always been that way. And I said, okay, well, if you're interested in tomorrow's break, I can work with you and give you some jaw stretches. And she thought that was great, and she left. And the next day, while we were in class and we were working on some work, I came over to her and I asked how she was doing. And she said that she actually was working on her jaw while she was driving home. She was massaging the masseter in that area, and she actually started crying, because so many things she realized was locked up in her jaw, and her jaw was very tight, and she was realizing that it was connected to a lot of issues that she had, both physically and emotionally. So I asked her if I could use her as a quick demo to demonstrate how to work the digastrics and to do some jaw stretching. And she said sure, so we called everybody around, and as we worked on her, she's explaining to everyone about how her father is the same way. He doesn't use his jaw, and she realizes that so much tension is there and causing her all kinds of headaches and problems her whole life. So as I started to stretch her jaw and open everything in each direction, we stretched at every angle, we did a little bit of scar work around the muscles, and I asked her to enunciate, and I asked her to say brown cow, and she went brown cow. Because the way she speaks with her jaw tight, it shoves her tongue up the back, and all of her voice and air and everything was coming out her nose because she just wasn't opening and enunciating. And I said, no. I said, open your jaw and enunciate, brown cow. So she stopped for a second, she thought about it, and it was very hard for her, and she opened her mouth really wide and she enunciated brown cow. And everybody in the class giggled because it was kind of funny, but she was very amazed at the difference that her voice sounded, as was everyone else in the room. We did a little more stretching. We found that there were several directions in which she really couldn't even move her jaw. We got her into full mobility, and then I asked her to repeat the simple sentence of, the rain falls mainly on the plain in Spain. Very typical, we've all heard that sentence before. And she started to speak, and she's like, the rain falls mainly on the plain in Spain. And I said, no. Try it again and over-enunciate. Open your mouth. Use your jaw. So she started to say it again, and she opened her mouth all the way, and she said, the rain on the plain falls mainly in Spain. Everybody in the class was amazed at the difference of the sound and the timbre and the volume of her voice. And so I turned around to everybody in the room, and I said, okay, so now, as a group, because it takes a village to raise a child, it also takes a village to help somebody heal and recover and retrain themselves into proper body mechanics. So I said, what are all of you going to say when you hear her speaking in that nasal tone? And the whole class shouted out, brown cow. So I was laughing, I was giggling, but she sat up and she seemed so shocked that everybody was concerned and cared and were willing to help her. She came in the next day, and for the last part of the class, and she was speaking, and from the back of the room she asked a question, and I was standing at the front of the room, and I just smiled at her, and she's like, you heard me. I go, yes I did. She goes, it sounds like my voice is much louder. I go, yes it is, because you're actually projecting and opening your mouth and letting your voice out. And again, there was all smiles all around, and she actually started to cry a little bit because it was very much connected to other things that were going on. So, why did I tell you this story? What's the moral of this story? Well, there's a couple of things. The first was I had a simple conversation. Someone walked up to ask me a question, and by being observant and seeing what was going on, I noticed an imbalance in her mouth, in her jaw, and how she spoke. And I had no problem coming forward in the proper manner and pointing it out to her. At first she was a little defensive and embarrassed by someone pointing out something wrong, but she, as a therapist, knew that something was wrong and worked on it. So much willing so that she was willing to be a demo and allow people to see and share in her experience. The other part of this was the experience of the whole class realizing that they as a community can come and help their friend and fellow therapist-to-be by paying attention to her and stepping in and making a simple funny statement such as brown cow to cue her to remember to open her jaw and to enunciate when she speaks. Okay? This is what I call a whole picture moment. This is paying attention to every detail, even from a simple conversation. And this is what we should be doing with our clients. It's not body on, body off. We are more than just manual therapists. We need to take the time to be observant and sit back and see what's going on with our clients' whole body, emotionally, mentally, and physically. Hope you got a little bit of something out of that story. Thank you for taking time to share this moment with me. Have a great day.